Hello, what's up guys? Your guy Promzy once again. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are talking about Steuererklärung or tax returns for international students living in Germany. So if ready for this video, stay tuned. But I would like to say that I'm not a tax consultant. Everything I'm going to share in this video is based on my experience of going through Steuererklärung or tax returns and information I've gotten from this. So if you need any professional explanation, you can book a tax consultant or a Steuerberater. When it comes to the dynamics with regards to paying taxes in Germany, it can be very different from one person to another, depending on your Steuer class, your marital status, and other things. So in this video, I'm going to share the generic scenario for international students in Germany. That is a student who is a Steuer class 1, who is single, and working in Germany. So for students in Germany, you are not required to file your taxes by law, but most often than not, if you do file your taxes, you get something back from the government, as in some money back from the government. Or there's this concept called the Verlustvortrag or the carry forward of losses, where the amount of taxes you're supposed to pay, you've paid for the previous year, can be carried forward to when you get a full-time job. And this amount of money will be deducted from the taxes you are supposed to be paying in the first year when you get a full-time job. And this Verlustvortrag or this carry forward can be done for 7 years, because if you're here for your studies, by 7 years you're supposed to be done with your studies and hopefully gotten a full-time job. That's why there's a period of 7 years. Okay, so are you supposed to be filing for your taxes in Germany as an international student? So before you can file your tax, it means you're supposed to be paying taxes. That's basically tax returns. You pay tax to the government, and at the end of the year, you file returns to get some money back, or if you've not paid enough taxes, you top it up. But as an international student in Germany, there's something called the Grundfreibetrag. That's an allowance of money that you can get as income without paying tax on it. And this amount is 10,908 euros. Most of the time, a lot of international students in Germany don't earn more than this Grundfreibetrag or the tax-free allowance threshold. So if you don't earn more than this amount of money, then you are not supposed to be paying taxes, and that is one of the reasons why a lot of international students don't pay taxes. Secondly, the kind of jobs international students do in Germany, most of the time don't even require them to pay taxes. For example, most students have mini jobs, and if you are working as a mini job, you don't pay taxes. You don't pay any tax contribution to the government, hence you are not obliged to file your taxes at the end of the year. So in case you've not filed your taxes before, can you file for the previous year? Yes, you can do that. Since we are not mandated by law to file our taxes, you can file as back as 4 years. For example, we are in 2025, you can file for 2024, 2023, 2022, and 2021. But if you've not filed for your taxes before, you can always file for your taxes for the previous year as back as 4 years. If it's as back as more than 4 years, it's gone and you can't file for those taxes back. Okay, so what document do you need to file for your tax returns? So if you've worked in Germany for a year or more than a year, or from 1 year to another, at the end of the year, you get this thing called the Lohnsteuerbescheinigung. All the information that you need for your tax return is on the Lohnsteuerbescheinigung, like your tax identification number, and also you should have a bank account in Germany, obviously. So if you're supposed to pay something to the government, which is rarely as a student, there should be an account where they can deduct the money from. Or if the government is supposed to pay you something back, there should be an account where they make the payment. So the Lohnsteuerbescheinigung, your tax identification number, and a bank account. Okay, so the thing is, you're a student, your Steuer class is 1, and you've not earned more than 10,000 euros in a year, which means you've not made any contribution in regards to tax to the government. How can you get something from the government, or how can you file for this tax returns? So as a student, there are some payments that you make that you can get some amount of money from the government at the end of the year. For example, our semester fee that we pay, any payment that you do regards to your studies, you can file for tax returns on it. Semester fee, examination fee for those who pay examination fee, and registration fee separately from their semester fee. If you have receipts and you have proof of payment, at the end of the year, you can send all these proof if it's asked by the finance amt, and you can get some amount of money back. Also, for transportation, I don't know how it works now since we have the 49 € tickets working in the whole Germany, but prior to that, if you are not staying on campus and you have to buy the monthly tickets in that particular city, which sometimes could be very expensive, at the end of the year, you can file for tax returns for this payment from the finance amt, and as a student, you get some reasonable amount of money back. One other thing that a lot of students file tax returns on is hardware purchase. If you buy any equipment like an iPad or a laptop usually, or a printer for the purpose of your study, and at the end of the year, if you're filing for your taxes, you have the receipt and proof that shows that you bought this equipment for your studies, you will get some cash as form of tax returns on these purchases. You don't have to go and buy something that is not in the scope of your education. Example, if you're an engineering student and you go and purchase a camera, they're not going to return any tax for you because the device that you bought is not directly linked to your studies. One other way that a lot of students get some amount of money at the end of the year based on tax returns is when they relocate to another city for their internship. If you're in Berlin and you apply for internship in another city, that requires you to definitely move to that city to do your internship or your thesis. So the amount of money that you make during this relocation, at the end of the year, you can file tax returns on these expenses also. One thing that you should know is that whatever you're going to do in the different cities that require the relocation should be directly linked to your studies, because these are studies expenses. For example, thesis or compulsory internship. They don't reimburse on voluntary internship because it's not directly linked to your studies. It's something you chose to do because you wanted to do an extra internship. So it's something you should also note. So yes, technically there's a deadline for filing your taxes. That is the 31st of July of the following year. So that means if you want to file for your taxes for 2024 by 31st of July this year, your taxes should already be filled. Since you're not required by law, we don't have a deadline. That's why you can go back 4 years, up to 4 years, to file for taxes that you've not even filed for 2021 or 2022. So how do you go about applying for your tax returns? So usually you go through a steuererklärung or a tax consultant, and as a student who's not making any tangible contribution in terms of taxes, I don't recommend going through a steuererklärung because you have to pay for their services, and it's better you use the free form that the government has produced on the website. I'm going to put the link in the description below, but that is also in German, and most international students don't, you know. So it's either through a steuererklärung or through this form, and also there are some online platforms that you can use, which I've been using since. I think the most popular one in Germany is TaxFix. You can also apply for that through it, and the forms is almost the same as the one that produced by the German government, but it's in English, so that's what a lot of international students use. Okay, so I know the concept about taxes and tax returns, especially in Germany, can be very tricky and complex. But from experience, from what I've noticed or from what I've known from other people, as a student, if you file for your tax returns, you are always almost going to get something from the government, because you are most likely not earning above the 10,000 euros, and you've made some purchases one way or the other that you can always get something back. And for the best case scenario, if your steuer class for that particular year was wrong for one way or the other, for example, some people have steuer class 6 even though they're supposed to be in steuer class 1, then at the end of the year, if you file for the tax returns, you're going to get huge amount of money from the government because they were not supposed to tax you in the first place, but they did, and at the end of the year, you get all the money back. So some students use that as some form of savings, where at the end of the year, they get like 2,000, 1,500, 3,000, depending on how much you contributed in that particular year. Okay guys, so we've come to the end of this video. I hope you find this video very educative and informative. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the community. Like always, the name is Promzy, and I'm signing out. Peace.